All right, let's get the word out. It is going to be a heated one tonight, and honestly speaking, I'm a bit calmer tonight than I was last week with what happened in Buffalo, but it doesn't change the fact that what happened is upsetting. As you can see, I'm back on Twitter, so I will be highlighting some things using Twitter tonight. Welcome to the Bonnet Chronicles. I am Kalari GXC. I am going to get this started off, whether or not the chat fills up or not. We have so much to talk about, and of course, Uvaulde is tonight's topic, and it's sad. It's sickening. The stories that we hear about what happens is tragic enough. The lack of courage from the good guys with guns versus this cowardly idiot 18-year-old who barely lived life and now he's dead, and we still don't even know the whole story behind his ass. How did some broke ass child get the money to buy two assault rifles? We're going to dive into the history of the shit that's gone on in this country because Twitter, going back to it, has just been a menagerie of misinformation. And I definitely want to combat some of the shit that people have been posting on there in regards to what happened in Uvalde. But I really want you to remember the people who are not here right now. I want you to look at these children who should still be here and understand that this shit has to stop happening. And I don't want to hear how it can't be done because that's a lie. And I'm going to get into the history of that tonight too. Because some of you really need a history and civic lesson on what can and what needs to be done. Considering that our current POTUS was on the front lines as a senator when we got our first assault rifle ban, don't tell me it can't be done. And welcome to the chat, Beans. I feel like so many people need to understand the who and what and why behind this. This dick, the face of a fuck up. The fact that he wanted to make Texas a sanctuary for the Second Amendment. All this right wing, racist bullshit indoctrinating white people to fear anything that doesn't look like you. Grab them murder machines because you gotta protect yourselves. White genocide is gonna take you out. You're being replaced and you fuckers are killing yourselves. But what's worse is you're going in and you're killing innocent people who are just struggling to survive, and I am fucking sick of it. And then when you look at the idiocy on Twitter, because people have been out of pocket with their shit takes. Let me get this back up because, good Lord, I could not believe the stuff you see on Twitter. Lady decided that she wanted to tweet this garbage. A lot of new followers. I don't understand that. Y'all need to pick somebody better to follow. I am cranky and I just do not understand that. I scroll down a bit too much. I yell at people today. It was definitely a yell at people day today. Here we go. This garbage from Sensation. I'm not even going to hide her name because she obviously wanted the attention. But she goes, back when I went to school in the 80s and 90s, you never heard of school shootings. Ma'am, Google's quick. You don't even need to take more than 5 minutes in Google to figure out the first thing wrong with her sentence. And I'll tell you why. Because we had God in our schools. Now, I don't know about you, because I came from a very big, diverse family, and we did have Catholics in our family who went to parochial schools. So they might have had God in their schools, but as I responded, they were some of the wildest kids I knew in New York, especially. So it really made me pause reading that asinine tweet. But this is the revisionist and other bullshit that the writer's starting to try to come up to counteract the fact that this is their bullshit. between their lax gun laws, their wanting a sanctuary for their right to bear arms, all of their hateful, toxic rhetoric made a nasty cocktail for this and what happened in Buffalo and what happened in Georgia, because this is not new. Gun violence is not new to the U.S., but going into schools has been happening. It happened in Sandy Hook. It happened all over the country. 1987, 88, and 89 especially were particularly violent for school shootings. When I started researching tonight for this shit, because her tweet set me off. I tried to stay calm today, and it was hard because so many emotions run through you when yet another one of these tragedies happen. But this bit of bullshit, this bit of faith-driven bullshit, set me off the worst because I could see her just smugly typing this out. And she probably has like one of those live, laugh, love and crosses on her wall. And she thumps the Bible and doesn't read the Bible. And she looks down at anybody that doesn't worship like her or looks like her. These people are part of the problem because they will sit in the chat room with somebody like that little motherfucker who, by the way, they love to bring up now that he's not exactly white, but he's white adjacent, so I'm still counting him as one of y'all. They love to try to make it like, oh, he might have been an illegal immigrant. No. We're not going to play these games that deflect, because white supremacy is the reason why he had this ideology, why he had the ability to go and get 2 assault rifles, and that didn't set off enough red flags. People making the money off of him didn't care. Buying all that ammo didn't set off red flags. The fact that he sat in chat rooms espousing how he wanted to hurt people to his siblings and others didn't stop people from stopping the shit from happening. And all of them leave calling calls. All of them have an MMO. All of them have MO. All of them have a direct line of people who seen what they were about that could have fucking stopped them. I think of that fucker in Buffalo again. Literal article today I read that there was an FBI agent who lives in Texas, of all places, who had the potential to have stopped this, who knew, but shared the same replacement theory ideology, the same garbage that has been regurgitated amongst the right. And all this has done is brought death and destruction. For what? What's the point? But what troubles me about people like Sensation especially is just how her tweet gets passed around as if we put guard in schools down to stop it. Excuse me, ma'am? Most of these shooters come from heavily religious backgrounds. They get told about the fear of God really early on. They get told that they have to listen to their parents early on. They get stuck in these fucking towns where they have nothing else going for them. They are bullied and mocked by other little good God-fearing Pope. And then they turn that rage on innocent lives. It has happened so much that it's just like, where have you been? The song, I Don't Like Mondays, because I brought that up. One of my friends, David Darmathal, said, I wonder how many people realize that that song was about a fucking mass shooting, because I don't think a lot of you realize. That song was about a young woman who wanted to make a name for herself. Poor, felt like she had no other purpose in life, had a supposed history of mental illness, because we always love talking about mental illness when shit like this happens. She killed 5 people that day. This shit has been ongoing. It didn't just magically start happening. It feels a lot worse now because they are literally going into elementary schools. We lost 22 good people the other day. Something that's fucking preventable. Back in 1989, the thing that really got Joe Biden when he was the then senator into action was a shooting. I think it was the Cleveland school shooting, and the school was just called the Cleveland School. It was actually in California. No, actually, the Stockton school shooting. I want to get my facts right on this, y'all, because you need to understand the history of this, to understand where we've been, how many times this has happened, and what we need to do to stop this. A 24-year-old went in, fatally shot 5 kids, wounded 32 others before taking his life. These were all Asian kids, too. And these fuckers, they have a history of doing this. I read about this one white supremacist and his wife who took a whole bunch of kids and people hostage. So that whole God in school thing really pisses me off, because a lot of these fuckers think they're doing it in the name of God and their white skin. So I really need people to miss me with that whole God in school thing. We need sensible gun reform. And we have people who are smart. We have a president who literally helped pass a bill in '93 after that awful murder of Southeast Asian kids. And that was on top of several incidents of gun violence and shootings on school grounds within the 80s and the 90s. But you will have people try to revive history, try to say we need more faith in schools. Herschel Walker's dumbass Adam Brain campaign trying to push that in his campaign against an actual reverend. You ain't going to try to push that false faith in the face of reality. We need sensible gun reform. We need to make it a crime to own AR-15s. You should not have military-grade weapons when you're a civilian. This everything that young man did, as Sergeant Joker, somebody who I love following on Twitter, put earlier this morning, was completely legal until the time he started firing and taking lives. He was legally allowed to purchase those weapons of destruction because Texas wanted to be a Second Amendment sanctuary. Abbott's own fucking words. And then he got mad at Beto O'Rourke, who you motherfuckers need to vote for. You need to replace Abbott. You need to replace Cruz. You need to get all of those fuckers who sanctioned this out. But he said, oh, how dare you try to make this political. Bitch, you made this political when you made your state a sanctuary for gun nuts. And don't think that this is just an Abbott problem. These fuckers have been indoctrinating themselves for years now. Let me see if I can find that photo, because when I seen it, I was like, exactly. This is exactly what's wrong with our country. The grooming of people. Look at this crap. Look at these families posing with this shit. This is completely normal to them. Just standing cheesing with rifles. But you put a hijab on them, and all of a sudden they're terrorists. These are Christmas cards to these fuckers. But if it was my color people standing around with rifles like that, you would be calling the National Guard. This is fucking white supremacy. It's hatred, and it is a toxic cocktail that fuels even the people who think they're adjacent enough. Now, all of a sudden, these people want to change the script. Oh, he might not have even been here legally. No. We are not going to play these games. You are not going to deflect from the issues. White people's fixation on arming themselves to the teeth in the name of the Lord, combined with the fact that you ruralize your towns to the point of nothing. Half of you are fucking high, the other half of you are drunk, you are miserable. You go quoting the Bible, but you don't follow the fucking Bible. And then you raise these angry little assholes who get bullied by their peers, who feel like they have nothing else going for them, so they turn to the only place that will give them validation, the internet. They say the most off-the-wall things, and instead of people flagging them, Instead of people saying, hey, this fucker is saying some wild shit on here. We need to get together and stop this before something bad happens. No, he gets high fives and encouraged. He sees pictures like this and goes, yeah, see, these are my people. And then they think, I got to do something big. It's not, I need to make a point with myself and take myself out with guns. And it's not, I need to make a point by melting guns down or doing artwork with it. No, they make their impact by taking innocent lives constantly. We've seen it last week in Buffalo. We've seen it just a few days ago in Texas. We had a gunfight here at a graduation party in Michigan. Gun violence has been on the rise here in America since the inception, but to act like school shootings is new is so fucking ridiculous. It's not even the worst school shooting, sadly. We still had Columbine, Virginia Tech. We still had the University of Texas shooting, which was one of the first mass shootings by a disgruntled white student. The shit has been going on for far too long. And people who don't want to talk about the issue, people who want to deflect, will bring up, oh, well, what about violence in Chicago? We do realize that a lot of those guns are trafficked in by other people. And I'm not making an excuse. Those guns shouldn't be on the street either. And if we had legislators at a state level, because that's where we need them, doing their damn job, we get somewhere. But instead, we have fuckers talking about, oh, we're going to have a whole series of debates. And their first debate, I'm not even going to pull up their picture because I couldn't believe that shit. It's supposed to be Lindsey Graham versus Bernie Sanders, and my brain goes, who the fuck asked for this, and who's going to sit through that? Who wants to sit through a has-been who really cheated his way back into his Senate seat in South Carolina versus an independent who they keep trying to put a Democratic lean on, argue about whatever? I'm not going to sit through that. And if this is what Senate Democrats think are going to revitalize people's interest in what they do, you got another thing coming. And Republicans can kiss my ass all the way right now. The only thing I want to hear from people, whether you're in the media or not, because that's been a doozy all day too, and I'm going to get to that tonight. If you're not getting your 4-year plan for voting in somebody who can help us pass sensible gun measures, I don't want to hear from you. And welcome to the chat, Deacon Fader. Welcome to the chat, Terry Tico and Beans. I am just so fired up tonight because it's been a week full of just ludicrousness. And to have people setting up debates where two idiots who literally shape nothing in our Congress debate over what? When we literally need people in those Senate halls passing sensible gun measures, banning assault rifles from the hands of civilians. I don't want to hear any more excuses. I want you to look at this image because I couldn't believe. Let me see if I can find it. This young baby. I could not believe when I heard her story. It doesn't just break my heart. It infuriates me that she knew how to do this, but that she had to do it. Let me bring her picture up because she's a little freaking hero. And when I look at her face, I think that could have been a niece. That baby had to lay on the ground next to a classmate who's pretty much was sure was either dead or dying because they were in that fucking school for an hour before they got help. She had the wherewithal to smear herself with blood and pretend that she was dead so that she could survive this. This is how hardcore these babies have to be because of the cowardice of the Uvaulde police. These same fuckers who no problem shaking down people who don't look like they belong, probably went on ICE raids to make sure that nobody illegal is on their borders. They let those children be massacred. And the more you hear the story of both incompetence, cowardice, selfishness, and some of them actually went in to rescue their kids, but left other kids to die. I don't know what's going on in Texas, but I don't believe that it's unfixable. I just think it's infuriating that it had to get to this level of depravity for people to open their eyes to what's going on. And like I said, this comes as I just finished processing what happened in Buffalo. Seeing elders buried, seeing a man who just went to go get a birthday cake for his kid, losing their lives to hate. To see yet again another preventable incident. And then having people spread misinformation on what the president can do. The president is going to do stuff. He is not happy with the state of what's going on, but he can only do so much. And all of you who sit here complaining, yet you don't cast a ballot for decent lawmakers in your state. Because no matter what federally the president puts as an executive order, if some asshole like Abbott or DeSantis or Kay Ives or any of the fuckers in these states that are running their people into the ground decide, nope, I'm not going to listen. We will be a right-wing sanctuary for gun nuts. They can do that because we have a system of checks and balances. So the way to counteract shit like this, the way to protect us from people who don't care if they buy 2 fucking weapons of literal destruction and go into an elementary school or a supermarket or a movie theater or anywhere. People are gathered to just do harm. We need legislators who are willing to stand up for us. In Texas, you don't have that right now. You don't have that in your senators. Fucking Ted Cruz. Watching that interview with him not only made me seethe, but there's a reason why I can't go into politics. Because it's not like wrestling. I can't just walk up to a colleague and punch the shit out of them, which is what I want to do every time I see an asshole like fucking Ted Cruz. The fact that he says things like, well, you know, if there was less entrances and exits to the building, this could have been neutralized faster. And it's the idiotic things that this man says. How the fuck did he become a sitting senator? Guys like him infuriate me because they have failed their way up into places that hold and stymie us from actual progress and betterment. Little fucker ran off last year during that horrible snowstorm where lives were lost, children's lives were lost, as they froze to death because the power grid could not handle snow in Texas. And this is the fucker you're interviewing after a tragedy? No. Texas, you need to do better. And I am not blaming the Texas Dems for this. No, no, no. The people that organize, the people that get out the vote, I am blaming the contrarians that sit your ass home acting like, well, I don't know what could be done. I blame you to still sip the right-wing conservative Kool-Aid who think, I gotta protect my guns more than I gotta protect the lives of fucking elementary school kids. I blame everybody who dares like the tweet like that fucking asshole earlier talking about, well, Biden's only giving us $10K as student debt relief. That's not enough. If somebody has over 100, I said it to Greg earlier and I mean it. I have never been one that says, I had to pay for mine, so you have to pay for yours. I've always been of the mindset that going to fucking school shouldn't financially break you. But in the list of fucking priorities right now, trying to survive in this country as a Black American has always been perilous. Trying to live as a woman and make my own choices have always been perilous. But when I list every fucking thing that I need to think about as a mother and as a Black American, the last thing on my mind is worrying about fucking student debt. So when I see some self-absorbed, self-entitled press brat, because that's what I call them now, they are press brats, on Twitter talking about it's not enough. And then you have other people chiming in about how this isn't, they needed to test this. And other, like, simply bullshit elitist things. In the wake of a literal school shooting, you're fucking debating your financial problems. That's the problem with our side. The selfishness, the entitlement, that I don't think this is going to motivate me to vote. I don't care that women are losing their rights to choose and they're going to have back alley abortions. I don't care if people are being fucking gunned up by gun nuts as we allow conservatives to turn our states into sanctuaries or hotbeds of chaos. I just want to get mine. I want to be able to flex on the gram, and I can't do that because I signed up for a predatory student loan. You've made poor decisions at a young age, and I get that. And I agree with the people who say that the predatory interest thing is what we should try to go after. But to act like this is simple, and to act like the president can just wave a wand and make it happen is bullshit, and you know it. And if you want your state to go after these predatory schools and these predatory lenders, you need to elect representatives and congresspeople who will do the damn job. It is basic civics that too many of you ignore. And then you act like, well, nothing good happens anyway, so why should I do it? As you shake your head at the latest fucking tragedy. All of this could have been prevented. We have people who refuse to do their bare minimum, and if you are 18 years or older and able to be registered to vote, that is your bare minimum that you could do to help prevent this, but you won't. And this rise of entitlement enabled by social media is what's really vexing about what happened in Uvaulde. Because so many people see the signs. They are constantly there. These people espouse hatred online. They leave manifestos online. They're surrounded by people who know them. I hear stuff about mental illness all the time, and it drives me up a wall because I literally have schizophrenia and bipolar disorder. It is called schizoaffective disorder. I've had it since they diagnosed me officially in 2003. I am sure I had signs since the early 90s. But back then, you didn't talk about mental illness. You just put on a face smile and you got through it. I never once thought I need to get a gun and take out as many lives as possible. The only person I ever wanted to hurt was me. And I know not everybody with mental health issues are built the same way, but I'm kind of fucking sick of that blanket term being tossed about for every little asshole who got bullied too. Every little asshole who supposedly has mental problems, check that too. And I've survived for over 44 years as a black woman in America. And I've not once decided to fucking take a gun and harm people. So I don't want to hear any more excuses for these little fucking 18-year-old shitbags who get smack talked on Xbox Live and decide I'm hurt and so I need to hurt a bunch of people. It's bullshit. It's entitlement. It's something that a lot of us have never had the fucking luxury of having. And I am so fucking sick of the talk of mental health only coming up in regard to feeling anything remotely empathetic for a person who literally took the lives of innocent people. I don't give a fuck about their mental health. I give a fuck about the anxiety that most parents are going to feel just doing everyday things like sending your kids to school. We had a near shooting today in Ohio because these fuckers feel like they got to call of duty, apparently. And these shits keep cropping up because they think it's the cool thing to do. They want to be the next main villain of the day, and it's got to fucking stop. And the main way to stop them is to stop allowing them easy access to these weapons. We need to make them illegal. We need to stop allowing manufacturers to sell them easily. And we need to find the fuck out of any gun shop that just allows anybody to buy these shits. Hit them where it hurts the most, in their pockets. I guarantee you a gun owner knows that it's going to cost them everything to sell to these fuckers. They'll stop doing it. And many people have made great points about the fact that you need a license to drive a car. You need a license to fish. But these fuckers in sanctuary states like Texas can just go with the money and buy these literal killing machines legally. No having to do a background check. No having to pass a psychiatric thing. No having to make sure that the intent for purpose is hunting and sporting, which is bullshit, because AR-15s, you're not going to hunt anything with those shits. They are literally used for killing things. And then you see all of those conservative ads full of politicians firing them off because they put out that false notion that these weapons are power. It's mind-boggling to me how many people choose to ignore the fact that they've literally pushed this propaganda for years now. Constant stream of, vote for me, I'll protect your right to do what? Cause more harm? Because that's all they're touting at this point. Because it's all they have. They don't want their people smarter because they know in a smart world, we would no longer elevate them ahead of everybody else. They know in an equal world, everybody will have a chance to grow and thrive and feel like they belong, but they don't want that. They want their white Christian right to separate you if you don't look a certain way or act a certain way or love the way they want you to love. If you're not a young girl able to lay up and make babies for a man who may be 40 fucking years older than you. It is disgusting the way their ideology really isolates and indoctrinates people and twists them into these little hate-filled rage machines that turns it on to innocent lives. And the one thing we can do to save ourselves and protect ourselves, so many people refuse to do. And welcome to the chat, Respect. And it's infuriating when I see shit like that young lady talking about, let me fucking get this up, because I couldn't believe the entitlement of her tweet. And when you read it, it just makes you see, even more so than the whole idea of the whole idea of God in schools, because that shit was dumb too. But the whole, I am so frustrated and disappointed with the White House's apparent decision on student loans. $10K if you make under $150K, which if you make under $150K, if you even make $100K, you should be doing better. But the whole idea that this will hurt marginalized people when, ma'am, a lot of marginalized people don't get to go to higher education anyway. And some of us, like me, went to, I got an associate degree and I paid it off myself. You make do with what you have when you don't have much. You don't sit there and complain. And trust me, if somebody wanted to give me $10K right now, I'd be more than grateful. But the fact that some of these entitled elitist assholes think they speak for all of us is a problem. Because she spread this shit and so many fucking people had the nerve to like and retweet it like it was gospel. So you're gonna sit home after we've literally lost several lives? And then the entitled responses some people give to that. Well, how's my vote gonna help? Well, if you get a fucking legislator like Lauren Underwood or Sharice Davis or Lucy McBath, if you get more senators like Warnock and Ossoff, if you would have gotten Jamie Harrison and instead of fucking Lindsey Graham, who's wasting a fucking Senate seat, we could get somewhere. And we have so many races on the line this year. And yeah, I know some people think, oh, I don't want to think about politics until the shit is at your doorstep, but you gotta start thinking about politics. Because when we don't think about it, when we ignore the obvious signs, shit like this happens. And 2022 was supposed to be better. We were supposed to start leaning towards hope. And I'm not giving up my hope, but I am being so much more protective of it because of these constant waves of preventable tragedies. And I see where the issue is. I'm not going to put this on the feet of this administration. They are doing their damnedest with here and issues abroad. This is a state level issue, and all of us have to worry about our state level politicians, because blue doesn't always mean better either. I'm looking at you, New York, with your fucking mayor idiot. Buffalo happened because New York, the bastion of elitism and liberalism, has a bunch of lax laws when it comes to gun control. Has a bunch of people, especially in rural New York, because some people forget that New York is not just the 5 boroughs, just full of rural rot and decay. And all they want to do is cause harm because that's all they got going for them. And we need better legislators there. We need less decaying legislators, because I'm sorry, Schumer, you're not it. Typing about fucking student loan debt bullshit when you are literally on the cusp of a fucking tragedy. I'm tired of this, y'all. And what drives me up a wall are how many people will still get on a device every day talking about, well, the president needs to do something, but I'm not going to bother with the midterms. I can't be motivated. I just got $10K in student debt forgiveness, but it's not enough. My independent Green Party plus candidate didn't get enough votes because we didn't turn out, so I'm not going to turn out for anybody serious about doing stuff about reform and stuff, because I can't be bothered to think about it unless my rights are on the line. And if I'm white, my rights are really on the line. Fuckers are the worst. And I don't care if you feel called out at this point, because you will look at people like me, you will bring up people like me when you talk about stuff like student loan debt, as if we don't know that you don't really give a fuck if our debt is repaid or not. Because if that was the case, you'd be full on the board for reparations. You don't care if it's our kids being murdered in these school shootings, if it's our elders just trying to do their grocery shopping dying. You don't care that it's going to be us who lose kids, whether it's through no fault of our own or through a medical choice, which is our decision. You don't care about the rights of anybody who isn't you, and it's tiring. We have so much on the line this year, and all you have to do is your bare minimum to help. And you'd rather just sit on your devices and act high and mighty. And I'm fucking sick of it. Because what happened in Uvaulde, what happened in Buffalo, what could have happened here today in Ohio, what happened here in Michigan at a graduation party, what's happening every few fucking seconds in America because we love guns more than we love ourselves, could be stopped with a decent series of laws. And we have so many people posturing, so many people giving interviews, but they're not in the fucking Senate halls drafting effective legislation and getting it passed, which is their fucking job. And if that is your current lawmaker's burden and refusal, then he needs or she needs to be replaced. And that is our job. Our job is to elect people to get that done. And if you're not willing to put in that effort, you don't have the right to complain about what happened in these tragedies. My voting record is solid. I don't care where I live. I don't care how far it is to the polling place. And now that I am on the permanent absentee ballot, I have absolutely no excuse. I vote like my life depends on it because it always has. Some of you have shown your entitled ass far too much because your rights are never on the line. Your identity is never on the line. You've never had the state target you for who you are. And it's really insulting because you bring up my community constantly in your arguments against this current administration. But you don't give a fuck about us. Our elders were buried not even a few days ago because of white violence. These children are dead. These teachers are dead because of white violence. That is something we need to shine a light on. The fact that little kids now know active shooter drills as much as any other drills. When I went to school, and I will give Miss God at school one thing, we didn't have active shooter drills when I was in elementary school, thank God. Yes, even in the 80s, there were school shooting incidents. They weren't as bad early on in elementary school for me. So we didn't have to practice that. We had normal fire drills where you lined up and went outside. But to know that kids as young as 5 now have to learn how to lay low, lock the doors, how to get out of a window maybe. Shit is insane to me. And I grew up in the generation of concrete slab playgrounds and no safety measures for anybody. I am full ass Gen X. So I do not understand how people allowed us to get to this point, or that whole myth of, oh, if we have more good guys with a gun. Now you're finding out there wasn't a safety officer there. The police waited an hour while this asshole was massacring children. There were no good guys with a gun. And the parents who were frantic to try to get inside the school were either tackled or subdued. And one lady had to literally sneak around to get her kids out. Let me tell you something. When we lived in Georgia, kiddo was in this elementary school in Cobb County. And I remember getting the message from the school. This is not to alarm you, but the school is on lockdown because there's an active shooter roaming the grounds. And they weren't sure if he was there to shoot the school or whatnot. And they didn't want us parents to panic. They didn't want us to come up, which, fuck that. We all, because everybody within that area had kids in school. So, of course, we went up there to get our kids. My child was in fucking kindergarten, and the school's telling me, active shooter, but don't come up. And I get that they thought maybe, parents would want to keep ourselves safe, but no, we wanted our kids. That was enough for me. I didn't want any more of that for my son. And I tried again when we moved to North Carolina to have him in a public school. Once again, school had to go on lockdown because somebody suspicious with a weapon. That was enough for me. Kiddo started to go to online virtual school after that. It's not because, I believe that I could teach my kid better. No, it's because between the fear of some bigot with a badge or some bigot with a Bible-thumping family driving in that their God-given right to be white or white adjacent is more important than the lives of everybody else, getting a gun and taking my baby's life is just too great. They have taken so much joy out of life in this country. Simple things like concerts and movies and fairs and places where you're supposed to be able to have fun and enjoyment is gone. And is that what the right wing want? It feels like that's what they want. Just people living in fear and misery. But as long as they got their guns, right? And then the other side, just saying, we need to show compassion for the people lost. But a harder line on these weapons being so easily accessed. Oh, they're weak. That was going to be Tuesday's talk. But I really wasn't feeling good, so I'm glad y'all understood. I really got some rest instead. Because that's their whole bullshit the media is trying to spin to depress the vote. They're somehow showing compassion and understanding and trying to help people is a weakness that the Dems need to get over. We all need to fall in line somehow behind some bullshit idiot ideology like the other side, who are literally letting themselves die to COVID still. And like I said, even if you're boosted right now, please be safe. Still mask up if you can. Social distance, because we are going to see spikes in this shit because people are not being smart. The other side, they think they got God on their side. But God in school, it won't stop people from shooting people up. Ignore the fact that a lot of these people identify as God-fearing. It's so mind-boggling, the amount of cognitive dissonance these people express. And what's frustrating is the response of these cops. It's been brought up several times today, and I hate that the names of these people are brought up in this vein, because y'all ain't thinking about Brianna still not getting justice any other way. I seen Tamir's name brought up yet again, because it did take more than a few seconds for cops to shoot that baby in the back because they thought he was a threat. So many of our kids have lied dead in response to police feeling threatened for their lives. These fuckers were literally massacring people and were almost allowed to do so by the people that could have stopped them. Tops Grocery could have been prevented, but when it was ongoing, we could have had a better response. Instead, we had 911 operators hanging up on actual fucking victims, and we had a police response that was abysmal. Because once again, if it's a certain group, who cares? Black Lives Matter, right? And then in Uvaulde, these kids, you look at these kids and you can tell why the response was abysmal, and I hate it. I hate it because when you look at the history of school shootings, when you look at some of the perpetrators of these school shootings and the victims, when I was looking at that 1988 shooting that sponsored the 93 assault weapons ban, which Biden, when he was a senator, helped pass. That fucking racist went after Asian kids on purpose. Because that's all hate knows. And I'm tired of people making excuses for this. I don't want to hear shit about mental health if you're not going to put in legislation that actually gets centers so these people can get their medications and talk to whoever will stop them from deciding, I need to buy a gun and do this. We need to flag internet comments and chat rooms where this shit is prevalent. We need to shut down any talks of the fucking replacement theory, because like I said the last Bonnet Chronicles, we are all human beings, and I am fucking sick of white people pushing this. Well, yeah, we're human beings, but we're just a little bit better because we're not melanated bullshit, because that's what that is. And you just need to stop it. You just hold us all back with this regressive thinking. And I am so aggravated that we choose to ignore this very clear white elephant in the room. Pretend like, oh, that's not the issue here. Oh, it's just guns. The guns are the problem. And yes, we still really need sensible gun reform. No fucking excuse with that. But we need to look in the face of all of these conservative Christians especially and ask them, what has this arrogance, what has this ideology done for you? You're burying your own now too because of this. And these young martyrs, as you want to call them, are sitting in jail for the rest of their life or on death row. What is the fucking point? It makes no sense. These babies should still fucking be here. It makes absolutely no sense to me. You will never, ever make this shit make sense to me. And the follow-up stories. That teacher who died, her husband, you know, they have video of him putting flowers on her grave, and then he dies of a heart attack. And everybody's like, oh, that's true love. It's broken heart syndrome. And it's like, I know people are trying to make sense of this and romanticize this, but this ain't the time for this shit, y'all. I want you to look at the faces of these babies. This isn't the first time this shit has happened. This isn't the first elementary school, but this shouldn't be ignored. Because if we keep acting numb to this, there are going to be more of these children like this. And it could be yours. It could be mine. And I don't want that happening. We've got to stop this. And all it takes is your fucking bare minimum. Invest yourself just a little bit more in who represents you as you do a football game or your favorite Real Housewives or whatever other fucking pop culture thing. If you do not vote, you do not have any right to be on social media bitching about what happened in Uvaulde. Because I don't believe you give a fuck at this point. And if you vote for the other side, I think you sanctioned this, as far as I'm concerned. Because your side seems obsessed to a point of fucking fanaticism with allowing young men to be able to do what happened to these victims. Your blood, their blood is on your hands as far as I'm concerned. And I don't care whose feelings I hurt by saying that, because it's the fucking truth at this point. If you are more worried about owning an AR-15 than keeping these schools safe, if you think, like Ted, the fucking badger crews, and I'm not going to use honey badgers because honey badgers are actually a decent animal. Just a fucking beat up, bad beard badger. That, oh, if the exits and entranceways, if there was just less of them. No. That fucker got into a locked door. He had an hour to massacre those 20 lives. And then we don't even know how he died, whether it was with the police, whether he shot himself. There's so much lies and disinformation, we might not ever truly know everything that went down. But I do know that there are families that had to bury their children. I do know that there are little kids that are forever scarred and traumatized. They had the wherewithal to smear themselves with blood to survive. They shouldn't have had to do that fucking thing. That's war tactics. We are literally raising a generation of kids who know what it's like to survive a fucking war just going to school. That is sad. It is fucking infuriating. And it shouldn't be. And if hearing this tonight gets you upset, if hearing this tonight makes you mad, then you need to do something about it. Your fucking bare minimum, y'all. There is absolutely no excuse for anybody who has an election this year to not pay attention, to not vote somebody in who will fucking pass a law to prevent this shit from happening again. Some of you just sit home apathetic, acting like, well, nothing's going to change, so why should I do anything? And it's exactly that attitude that allows shit like this to happen. It's exactly that attitude that allows these assholes like Abbott to run a beautiful state like Texas into the ground in the name of God. It's bullshit. He literally is on tape calling Texas a Second Amendment sanctuary, and my brain just goes, a sanctuary for who? Texas has the worst record in shootings, whether it's at churches, whether it's at schools. And it's a sanctuary for who exactly? Because it ain't a sanctuary for students. It's not a sanctuary for anybody who wants to feel safe. And if we are not careful, any state could become a Second Amendment sanctuary. We got a little bit of good news today here in Michigan. Not great news, but good news. 5 of the 14 Yahoos, Republicans gunning for Gretchen Whitmer's seat, got disqualified because of election shenanigans. You know, the thing they love to accuse our side of doing. 5 of those fuckers are gone. But that's still, let's see, there was 14, 9 gun-toting yahoos that want to turn Michigan into a right-wing bastion, still gunning for her seat. And even though I'm hopeful that people understand that Governor Whitmer has done good for this state, there are still people who act apathetic, and I cannot sleep until I see her reelected. And that has got to be the attitude those of you who call yourself Democrats have. We cannot be apathetic. We cannot get lax. We cannot be lazy. We must do our part. Even if it's your bare minimum of casting a ballot, do that. Because that one time you decide, oh, I'm just going to stay home. It doesn't matter. The person will have enough. It'll be that time that that right-wing nut job slips in. The person that was in charge, I think the mayor of Uvaulde, ran unopposed and I think only had like 190 something votes from what I was reading in the research of this. These people, they get in, they fuck up, and they run unopposed because people don't care until shit like this happens. And it shouldn't take the deaths of fucking elementary school kids for you to realize that your bare minimum effort could have prevented this. But I'm hoping that enough of you see this and understand what we need to do, what has to be done at this point. I'm tired of so many people making excuses of, well, it won't immediately stop the issue. It doesn't matter if the issue isn't done immediately. It matters that the issue starts getting solved. I'm sick of everybody trying to move the goalpost when the goal is clear. Keeping us safe, keeping our kids safe, keeping our elders safe, keeping us safe. And we want to be selfish about it because none of us are safe from this gun violence shit. And like I said, it's not just elementary schools. It's any place people want to gather and just congregate and have fun or pray. And that isn't right. We literally had a shooting in Las Vegas at a church. And I know people want to go, well, it was an Asian man targeting Asian people. It doesn't matter. It's still an American problem. The fact that people, no matter where they come from, associate being able to get a gun and cause the most amount of violence is a U.S. problem, and we need to handle that fucking problem already. When New Zealand had that Christchurch shooting, they mourned, they got angry, and then they passed a comprehensive ban on assault rifles. That was a proper response to this. Not the, oh, gee, I don't know, we need to get a bipartisan debate going about this. There's no fucking time for debate anymore. What more do you need to argue about this? Was Parkland not enough? Was Sandy Hook not enough? Is Uvaulde not enough? How many more little bodies do we have to bury before it's fucking enough? I'm tired of this. And what really infuriates me is this comes right after fucking Buffalo. So I barely have time to process what happens in New York before I have to freaking deal with the loss of children yet again and preventable gun violence. It's too much. And I'm fucking sick of people acting like nothing can be done. It can be. And if you are not personally investing yourself in who represents you, if you support that murderer like Abbott who wanted your state to fully indoctrinate assholes like that Uvaulde killer, don't talk to me. But if you consider yourself a Democrat, you need to be going hard for Beto O'Rourke to be your next governor. You need to make sure whoever is going to unseat that fucking demented badger Ted Cruz has a D by their name. Because we've already seen the rights proposals. We need to put God at school, a gun in everybody's hands, and a Bible on every corner. We don't want you smarter. We don't want you to have purpose. We'll ignore the fact that you're doing drugs and drinking. We don't care as long as a few of us are rich and the rest of you duke it out and keep those brown and black people in line. They want this chaotic fascist state. And we are the only front lines against it. And yet our side, the entitlement and the apathy just erodes at any gains we make. And it's got to stop. And as much as I would love to just call out conservatives only, the problem lies in our inaction. If you want to stop what happened at Tops, because I'm never going to forget what happened at Tops. And while what happened in Uvaulde breaks my heart, it troubles me that we didn't even get a chance to truly process and grieve what happened in Buffalo before the next fucking big incident. And I refuse to let one negate how I feel about the other, because I'm still not done mourning the elders we lost in Buffalo. And it hurts that I have to find room in an already crowded brain, an already broken heart, to mourn teachers and babies to this tragedy. It has to stop. And I refuse to sit here and complain and then not cast a ballot to ensure that people here in Michigan understand that we need better gun control, that we need people that actually care about their citizens, that we have governors and senators and representatives that listen to their constituents' needs and not just about one peeve issue. Some of you play around, but we cannot afford this, because we literally have a media working against us. We literally have people talking about, I don't know how this is going to look for the Democrats. And we have little fucking brats talking about, well, 10K is insulting. I don't know how this is going to motivate. If you need any more motivation than these last few years under the Keystone Cops level of fascism of Trump, under anybody like DeSantis or Ives or Abbott or Kemp, if you are literally in a state where COVID is high, funds are low, and you are struggling, yet you want to know, why is it like that? Look no further than your fucking state level rep and vote, because your life and our lives depend on it. Stop giving these fuckers their sanctuary. They don't need any protection. They're armed to the teeth. But what we can do is pass legislation to make the guns they arm themselves with illegal, because they don't need them to protect themselves. Half of them end up shooting themselves in the fucking foot or worse anyway. We have to be stronger, tougher, and do our bare minimum, because that is the only way we are going to get effective change in this. I'm going to get ready to wrap this up. Thank you all so much for sitting in, and exactly respect. Apathy really is the worst. It is the one thing that I will continuously call our side out for, because it has been rampant, along with entitlement. And it has to stop, because the shit has been ongoing, and I don't want people being numb to this. And I don't want any more tragedies. And like I said, we already had a damn near incident today in Ohio. This isn't going to stop. And with Memorial Day coming up, I want you to please be safe, stay on high alert, and be mindful. And if you see somebody online, even if it looks like they're joking about it, report them. We can't play around with this shit anymore. I don't care if you get called a narc. I don't care if people's feelings are hurt. If you see somebody espousing hate this weekend especially, call them fuckers out. You could be saving people's lives. We have to do our parts to stop this. No more turning a blind eye. No more ignoring them, because they leave signs to this. But like I said, I'm going to wrap this up. I will be back on Tuesday night. Thank you, everybody, again, for sitting in. Musical, oh, it's okay. I will be back on Tuesday. Thank you so much for sitting in, y'all. I really love the support that you give to these Bonnet Chronicles. I'll have this up on YouTube within a little bit, and I really do appreciate you. I am back on Twitter, y'all, so I will be sharing my opinions on that. Bonnet shorts and all, because apparently apartheid edgelord, I don't know, I think he was just trying to manipulate stock. So, you know, as long as he doesn't own it, I can be on it. But either way, I will see you all in a few days. If you aren't here, I will be on for gaming this weekend, but you know me, I'm not a good streamer. I don't pay attention to chat when I'm gaming. So if you're in, I'll say hi, but most of the time I am fully enthralled in whatever game I'm playing. So I will be back on Tuesday for these interactive chat Bonnet Chronicles. Thank you so much for sending in. Please, if you can, do what you can. If you can donate or say a prayer for the victims of Uvaulde, but even better yet, vote for better representation. Even if you don't live in Texas, phone bank, text bank, do what you can to get Abbott out. We have to do our part. That's it, y'all. I'll see y'all next week.